Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump Jr. went after every political rival during his speech, while performing his speech at the Conservative Political Action Conference. Now, that's a very good thing. He's right on a number of issues, especially when he says it took only 33 days. Who would have thought within 33 days we'd be engaging in a foreign policy endeavor within a region of the world? It's not exactly his quote that we shouldn't even be in. President Trump had a populist political message on a lot of issues. He's turned the Republican Party into a more populist political party. That's a very good thing. That's a moral thing. It is immoral. See, like Democrats, they've jettisoned God and religion, and that's fine. If you're an atheist, fine, perfect. Agnostic, all good. But if your religion is politics, if your religion is CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times, the Washington Post, and when they devote their entire existence to taking down President Trump and undermining him and blaming him for everything under the sun, when you have Andrew Cuomo now being impeached, it'll eventually happen. He deserves it. His decision-making was not only horrendous, it led to the loss of thousands upon thousands. Directly from his decisions. You can't name a decision President Trump made. Oh, he downplayed. Oh, he knew. And these are all this is all conjecture. If he knew, why didn't the intelligence community leak it to the country the same way they leaked the Steele dossier? Oh, that's right. Because Democrats and their loyalists within the government only engage in activity that suits them politically. So you never saw people coming out of the woodwork and saying, "Oh yeah, well, you know what? This is a really horrible thing that's about to happen to the country." That's only for the Steele dossier. They only impeach. They only vote immediately in a concerted effort with a laser focus on impeachment twice. Medicare for all, nah. Green New Deal legislation, nah. Incremental change is what Democrats want, and the far left will eventually break off. And then they won't have. Then when you have a Republican Party that actually speaks with one voice, it won't matter what Hollywood or what social media tech giants say. But here, who would have thought that within 33 days we'd be engaging? But it took Biden a month. And the only reason President Trump engaged in a similar tactic is because he was basically pushed to do so by everyone around him. Oh, well, you have to respond, because there was an event that took place in that region, allegedly, that the intel community told Trump. Anyway, we can go on forever. The things that, I want to just kind of circumvent and not really get into, just because I want the video to be monetized. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. It is difficult to navigate these waters, ladies and gentlemen, in this day and age. And hit subscribe to this channel if you want to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, The Daily Caller, other publications. Go to hagoodman.com. You could see my debates there as well. But Donald Trump Jr. took aim at several political opponents during a fiery speech at the Conservative Political Action Friday, including Cheney, President Biden, CNN, and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Look at all the people. Now, I want to read you this really quickly. This is an article, The Twilight of the Anti-Trump Idols. And it's a New York Times article from today saying, well, the awfulness, Trump was so awful, we needed people to stand against him. And sometimes when people stood against him, like Cuomo and de Blasio and others who botched and completely, were completely inept in their handling of the pandemic. Phil Murphy is one example. Democratic-run states, according to the New York Times, have the worst outcomes. This is a fact. The greatest number of lives lost are in Democratic-run states. 6 to 7 of the top 10. Or actually 7 or 8 of the top 10. And they have the highest per capita rates in the country also. With New York and New Jersey leading the nation not only in devastation and suffering and sorrow from the pandemic. And God bless the people of New York and New Jersey. They deserve a lot better than Murphy and Cuomo. A lot better. Infinitely better. But you look at the top 12 highest rates of unemployment, those are Democratic-run states. Go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I have the link. Go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's really simple, ladies and gentlemen. You can debunk and refute all the nonsensical claims. And here, when they blame Trump for the pandemic, and they say, well, Trump was at fault. Trump tanked the economy. Look at the states that are doing much better. Red states are doing better in terms of the pandemic and in terms of the economy. Because they didn't have this zeal and this fervor and this like they were jubilant and gleeful in tanking economies, these governors. That's why Newsom is going to be hopefully recalled. Or recalled soon, who knows. But you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where you have a situation where you don't need to. It's very simple to refute all their nonsensical, irrational claims pertaining to Trump. Trump was a very good president. His accomplishments were good accomplishments. Okay? We had record low unemployment throughout most of his tenure. He was the first president to step foot in North Korea and begin détente between North and South Korea. President Moon Jae-in stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize, and he also told Biden's administration to continue Trump's foreign policy. Look at what's taking place right now. They say, well, we have to send a message. Well, why would you have to send a message? We shouldn't even be there. We shouldn't even have Americans in those locations. Has anyone ever thought of that? Has anyone even thought of that? We've been there for 20 years. For what purpose? We don't have a specific national security interest. For what purpose? Well, we have to make sure that those countries are... Democrats literally think, and the Karl Rove, the Lincoln Project, disgraced Lincoln Project, these people think we are just going to be there forever. That's it. Just like Germany and Japan. We're going to be there forever. It's no big deal. It is a big deal. That's not... Reagan was less militant. Reagan, much less. And you know what? I'm not a fan of Bill Clinton, but Bill Clinton, he engaged in really horrible military endeavors also, but Bill Clinton was less militant, much less militant than George W. Bush or President Obama. So you look at the nobody asks. You don't have to be an international relations scholar. You don't have to be a foreign policy expert. All the smartest people in the room got us into Vietnam. All the smartest people in the room got us into the past 20 years of never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. Intelligence has nothing to do with wisdom. Nothing. Absolutely. They even, before Vietnam, there were the Sigma analysis, the projections that the State Department and Pentagon and other agencies conducted. And they found out, even before, 58,000 Americans lost their lives, and millions of Vietnamese, even before, we found out that we couldn't win. We already knew before Vietnam in the Sigma, the Sigma projections. So intelligence does not mean wisdom. President Trump had a great deal of wisdom, a lot more than Biden, a lot more than all the other the Democrats and never-Trumpers. That, by the way, Kinzinger and Cheney voted alongside Trump over 90% of the time. So spare me the nonsense. Oh yeah, we're going up against Roe. The twilight of the anti-Trump idols, from Andrew Cuomo's scandals to after Trump, the failures of his foils have been laid bare. After Trump, the failures of his foils. What does that even mean? From Andrew Cuomo's scandals to another scandal that has nothing to do with Trump, which proved Trump right? What is that? They can't come to terms with the fact that in terms of policies, his policies weren't bad policies, except, family separation, that was horrendous. This should never have happened. So there's certain things that Trump did, missteps. A lot of really horrible things happened during President Obama's administration. I can't talk about them now, but read the Senate report. And it wasn't just, it was one farm. No, there were untold number of people being given to criminals. And President Obama had no... Notice how when you want to find out information in terms of numbers, gosh, they just don't give you the numbers. There's no numbers. You go to factcheck.org. We can go on forever. Anyway, for the sake of the heroic story, the fact that Cuomo and Bill de Blasio jointly botched New York's initial response to the pandemic was airbrushed out of the television hagiography. Yeah, want to know why? Because media engaged in a concerted, despicable effort not to be objective, to be hysterical and sensationalize everything about Trump. Now, what I said, look, I said there were critiques about Trump. President Trump shouldn't have insulted LeBron James. He shouldn't have insulted NFL athletes. He shouldn't have utilized Twitter in the way that he did, because he would have gotten the same amount of people to vote for him. 74 million Americans. Okay, you would have had that. You might have even had more had he just toned it down on Twitter. Because the thing is, the Twitter was able to, what they were able to do is erase President Trump's accomplishments. Media was able to erase President Trump's accomplishments from his use of Twitter. But here, if you look, New York Times, finally the wheel also turned for the white, sophisticated, the twilight, listen to this. The twilight for the anti-Trump idols should be a teachable moment in two ways. First, it's a reminder that the problem of media failure in the Trump era does not begin and end with the conservative bubble. What? Doesn't begin and end? That even shouldn't even be part... The discussion shouldn't even start with whether or not the media troubles within media or failures within media begin and end within a conservative bubble. The failures within media are within the overall media coverage of the past 4 years on every topic, including the pandemic, every topic, including President Biden's foreign policy now. That's why I voted against... that's why I voted for President Trump, because he didn't have 1 month in. He could have sent a message 1 month in. Sending a message is a lame kind of excuse to simply engage in the same type of foreign policy as President Obama and Bush and Clinton and Biden. We already knew what we were getting. But see, again, Democrats do not care. I want an end to counterinsurgency conflicts. I voted for President Trump. President Trump he wanted to remove him. He was on his way to removing Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. I can go into it easily, but that's what he was on his way to doing. That's one of the reasons they didn't like him. But here, as my colleague wrote last month, Trump's outsized awfulness. We had record low unemployment throughout most of his tenure. He was only awful on Twitter, and even then, not all of his tweets were horrendous or belligerent. But I mean, Trump's outsized awfulness in the minds of people who voted for Biden. 74 million Americans don't think that way, so he couldn't be outsized in terms of awfulness. This is. When they're talking about the problems of media, this is the problem of media. It's an opinion piece, fine, but often worked as a concealer over seals and foils not his own. Yeah, of course there was a concealer. Of course they went, everybody from Juicy Smollett to Avenatti to Stormy to Michael Cohen to New York's Attorney General, who was forced to resign for horrendous accusations, to the Lincoln Project people who have horrendous criminal accusations now. And new information says they all knew, but did nothing. There were probably other people who knew as well. Yet anti-Trumpism frequently produced a narrative conformity in media outlets that congratulate themselves on not being like those sycophants at Fox. Fox wasn't even a sycophant. It's like you have a couple, 2 or 3 that hosts or shows that or 4 that back Trump, and then 3 that don't. Oh, so you're not a sycophant, so you're good? Who are the entire media is composed of a bunch of sycophants for Biden. Where's the ethic? Where's the mindset here? We're going against a president is a good thing. Oh, because you got what? You got what you wanted now. That's the problem with media. You're in the tank for a political party. When you're in the tank for a specific political party, that's not a good thing. So here you have this New York Times article, The Twilight of the Anti-Trump idols. You have everybody from CNN anchors to people on Twitter making names for themselves simply because they spewed venom and vitriol against Trump. And they said, oh, well, we're knocking him down to size. You did nothing but foment even more division, more unhappiness, more discontent, more anger, more frustration. And still people weren't swayed. You think I care if people I grew up with, certain people I grew up with, say, oh yeah, well, I don't want to be your friend anymore, or I'm upset with you. It's like, dude, I back up my claims. You're the one who doesn't. I've heard people say, oh well, he said the pandemic was a hoax. No, he didn't. No, he didn't, you imbecile. He never stated that. He was talking about the media reaction. He didn't say the pandemic. Well, he downplayed it. Yes, so did Cuomo, so did Eric Swalwell, so did other people, medical experts. I'm not going to name the person's name. You know who he is. These are all quotes. And then when they get caught with their pants down, they say, oh, well, we have new information now. Well, then Trump got new information too. Okay? But the difference is that he wasn't a governor of the states with the worst outcomes. So these people are like, you look and it's like, it's pretty easy to debunk all their nonsense. Go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, go to the New York Times pandemic statistics, aggregate numbers. I mean, they'll slice and dice numbers all the time, but go to the aggregate numbers. The highest per capita rates are Democratic-run states. Okay, the top three, I believe, last I checked, were all Democratic-run states. And so, give me your thoughts below. I'll be back tonight. I'll have a live stream about 7 p.m. tonight or so, or 8 p.m., and I'll be back again in an upload. But, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump Jr., what he was saying, it's pretty on point. And President Trump speaks tomorrow at about 1:30 p.m. Eastern.